One. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are alive and well. The World Series is upon us. College football is getting crazier as the weeks go on. Penn State's still losing, and the Browns somehow won. All that happened in like the same weekend. But even before that, we almost didn't have an episode because I almost forgot to click record, which then would have been just miserably awful because we would have to
Yeah,
have a
meet
conversation.
back up tomorrow and do it all over
We would
again.
have to have a conversation about stuff without recording it. Like, who cares? No, in general, we are so excited that you were here with us, Josh. How are you doing? How's the life over there in Ohio? And can you believe it's already halfway through October?
Yeah, that's what's wild. We did have one more random 80-degree day on Saturday, but that might be the last one. This week, I think I mowed my lawn for hopefully the last time also. But yeah, it's really starting to look like fall and feel like fall out here, Ben. Even reflected in the sports space. Yeah, like you said, we got the World Series starting up this
Yeah.
Friday, maybe when this episode comes out. And yeah, college football's in the heat of the conference schedule. Some of these ranked teams that haven't played anybody are playing other ranked teams that haven't played anybody, and we're seeing how they measure up. We're seeing some more crazy upsets, and it's getting harder and harder to, I think, for
Yeah.
the AP to rank their top 10. It's getting harder for me to figure out who to make my top five teams in the power ranking. But yeah, what a
God.
weekend it was over here, and yeah, like I said, it's starting to feel and look like fall all around us over here, at least in the States. How about across the ocean?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just distracted for this dog that
I
we've been
seen
watching. Just
that.
drive me nuts. No, it's been good. It's been not too crazy. Weather's been kind of weird, just like pretty much 60s and 50s. Like I was at a retreat this past weekend. I'm on fall break right now, so I don't have to teach right now, that's why I look more awake right now. And this past weekend I was on a middle school retreat. Josh, it's like the favorite thing, right? You guys would love a middle school retreat. No, it's been good. Weather's been good. Been having a break on football, so just been enjoying watching football and relaxing and working. That's kind of the way it's working for me, at least.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Yeah, and I think NHL and NBA college basketball might all be starting this week too, if I'm not mistaken.
It is,
If not
yes,
next week,
it
but
is, yeah.
yeah,
Just wild. It's just
yeah,
again, we're almost to November, which is weird.
yeah,
Christmas
absolutely.
decorations will be up by the end of the week, so
I always see them in the stores, man, as
oh,
well as like the Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes and
oh,
stuff. Yeah,
just
they're all
hurts.
out in full swing and they ain't even hit Halloween yet.
Yeah. But I will say that I know we wanted to talk about I'm wearing a red shirt more in like, mourning of the fact that
Hmm.
the Reds will never make it to a World Series, I think, while I'm alive. But there is a World Series now. There's finally a World Series. Josh, why don't you give us a little insight of what the World Series is going to be? Because I think going into like the fifth inning last night, I think we thought it was going to be one team, and now that team still has never made a World Series, and it's going to be a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to keep this organized so we don't really scatter around too much and kind of work our way around. But yeah, the highlight of Game 7 in the ALCS was George Springer coming up and hitting a big go-ahead homer. That's his ninth career go-ahead homer in the postseason, which ties him, I think, for third all-time or puts him outright at third all-time now. Just one of the greatest postseason performers in baseball history, to go along with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's putting together one of the greatest single postseason performances, and hopefully that continues to be a trend for him. But yes, the Blue Jays, as it stands, Ben, are the ones that are going to the World Series to meet the LA Dodgers, who made light work of the Milwaukee Brewers, who are the one seed over in the National League. The pitching staff just came alive, and over there, Shohei Ohtani might have had the single best postseason game ever, throwing six shutout innings, throwing 10 strikeouts, and hitting three homers at the plate. So that's our matchup that we got. Do you want to start with the Dodgers side of things or the Blue Jays side of things?
I think we got to start with the Blue Jays. I think. I guess it is fascinating to me about this team. Well, first off, the Mariners, man. Talk about choke job, man. Like
That's a
you,
first year manager making
yeah,
some difficult decisions that just didn't go the way that I guess you would have thought. And some people are saying that when you take Brian Wu out in that
yeah.
case, you got to bring Munoz in. And I know it was the seventh inning, so a little uncharacteristic to bring a
It's
closer in
Game
right there. But
Seven
that's
though.
it's game seven
It's
and
Game
it's the top of the
Seven.
order right there. You're facing Springer, you're facing Lucas, you're facing Vlad. Bizzardo, I mean, one of their better relievers, but you want your best to go against their best,
Yeah.
and I mean that's a hard decision. I don't really know what I would have done. I would have leaned towards letting Wu try to work out of that jam because it was still I think 3-1 at that point. You had the lead, but
You
if
have
you're
a
Brian Wu,
buffer. You
you
have a
got to
buffer. So you had a buffer in that situation. You had one run buffer. So you give up one, try to get away with just giving up one, I should say.
yeah. But even Game Six, when I was watching Game Six, it seemed that Seattle played that game like they knew that they had one more to go. And I'm not really a fan of that style. Like they left pitchers in a little longer than what they maybe should have. They had some like defensive miscues there. It's just like they weren't all like laser focused like Toronto was with their who had their backs against the wall. It's like we need to win tonight or there isn't a tomorrow. And Seattle played a little more conservative, I thought. And who would have thought that? Yeah, we get the game seven. And I think Seattle. I mean, they put their best foot forward over there in that game
Hmm.
too. It's just comes down to,
Uh,
just a couple things and
I,
Springer and Vlad coming out
I think,
big time.
and that's one of the things that I think I heard. I think David Ortiz, I think Derek Jeter even said it. Like, I give props to Vlad, man. Vlad believed in the Toronto organization. He wanted to be in Toronto, and he his dad played, like there was all these like situations, and I think they paid him a lot of money, and Vlad has come alive, I think, more in the postseason, I think, than even the regular season. The energy, like I love the segments with David Ortiz after they beat the Yankees. Like it just, he's loving baseball and he's enjoying it. And you could see that. And Springer, I mean, that guy had feels like he's been off the map for a few years, just not really relevant as much as he was when he was with Houston. But here he is making a big clutch moment, and that the video of the no announcers and just the sound of the stadium is just
Yeah.
one of the coolest moments I've ever been able to witness, from watching a game. And it's cool to see Toronto. They haven't been back since 1993, before I was born. Which is wild to think about. I mean, they were talking about how, like, the PS3, the PS1 wasn't even released, like all these different
hmm
things that weren't released. And it sucks for the Mariners, man. They're the only MLB team that's never made it to the World Series, and they're going to have to wait a little longer, which is kind of crazy to think that a 112 win team never made it to the World Series, which is, again, that just is another situation. But
Yeah.
yeah, hats
That
off
might have been
Toronto.
116 too. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
hats off
But
to
yeah.
Toronto. They deserve it. But as Derek Jeter said, Toronto might be deep, but they're about to face a juggernaut. And I have this feeling that might not be that close of a series if Dodgers play the way they've been and they're rested.
Yeah. Before we flip it over to the Dodgers, a couple of Toronto talking points that I just find fascinating. Going to the start of the season where most everybody projected them to finish dead last in this division, the AL
Yeah,
East. We thought very highly of Baltimore. We thought the Yankees still had a lot on offense. We thought Boston made some good moves offensively or in the
and the
offseason, and
Rays.
you can't ever count out the Rays with how they develop. So it's just like the Blue Jays seem like the team that's trending down. Uh, and John Schneider, the manager, was looking like he was going to maybe get fired if this season didn't, end up being spectacular. And here they are, first off. And I want to point to a couple things they did that
They were
uh,
struggling, by the way, early in the year. They were struggling big time early
it
in the
was
year.
it wasn't looking good at first, and they did heat up. But here's a few things that I find fascinating. We can start with Vladimir Guerrero. We were wondering if they were going to get this contract done before the season started. And with all the talk right now about how the Dodgers are ruining baseball, and you can look at how the Red Sox didn't want to pay Mookie Betts, and how the Rays didn't want to pay Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow, and the Angels didn't want to pay Ohtani, and the Blue Jays did not make that mistake. They
No,
gave Vlad the King's ransom. He's the third highest paid player in baseball behind Ohtani and Soto right now, and absolutely worth it. A guy that wanted to stay. They invested in their homegrown talent. They also went out and spent some money on some of the deficiencies. Like they went out and got Anthony Santander for 40 homer bat that unfortunately didn't pay off. But some of these other moves, like going out and getting Max Scherzer and going out and getting a glove like Andres Gimenez from Cleveland, and at the deadline getting Shane Bieber, like they were a team that was aggressive, and a lot of the moves they made ended up getting them to this spot. And then also just fascinated with Trey Savage, a rookie Ben that started the season in Single A, the lowest level of the minors, worked his way up to the bigs in September and came out with a big start against the Yankees where he made light work of them, and then had another great start here in the ALCS against the Mariners for
just think about
I
that. You started the
think it was the
year.
game 6 start, just getting all these double
You
play balls to go. And
you.
been a huge factor, huge
You
contributor in the
you
pitching
start the
staff.
year, you start the year in single A, basically playing in a stadium that probably sits about 6,000 people. You're probably staying in motels, not hotels, probably motels. And now all of a sudden you're going to be on the biggest stage of the world. And I think that's what I love about baseball. I think that's what I've always been gravitated to baseball. And that's why baseball is my favorite sport growing up. It's because you have these stories of like these. I mean, every year there's those stories. You can look back in 1960 and 1970. There's these stories of these guys that just it's one of those things where all these other rookies were looked at as like the guy, and it's like sometimes it's just the right place at the right time, and that's what the Blue Jays have in him, and I love seeing it. But again, it's so great to look at these stories, but then there's part of you that's just like, well, it's nice while it lasted. I don't want to believe this, but
Yeah.
I just can't see. I just can't.
We'll hold that thought because we'll go ahead and talk about the juggernaut that is the LA Dodgers and how they really
Otani
didn't
is
have to play
unhuman,
their, yeah,
unhuman.
Shohei Ohtani, like I said, six
Dude,
shutout, three homers at
stupid.
the plate. Like he really, before that game, Ben, he really wasn't hitting that good to play. I
No,
think he was batting about like a buck 80 or something like
which is
that.
normal for him in the playoffs, by the way.
Yeah,
It
he
seems
did
like.
not do good last year. Last year in the playoffs, also, it didn't really get exposed because the Yankees lost, and everyone was talking about Aaron Judge's playoff
Yeah.
performances and stuff. So Otani's kind of been, I guess, able to get away with it so far, and that was his first postseason too. But this is his second, and maybe his bat has awakened now. But
It's scary.
offensively, yeah, offensively though, the Dodgers didn't really have to do a whole lot against the Brewers or the Phillies, to be honest. The starting pitching was going deep. Like I was surprised that Dave Roberts let Blake Snell go 8 innings. I was
For an
surprised he let
analytic guy, for an analytic
yeah,
guy.
let Blake go 8 innings. Let Yamamoto go nine, and you got seven out of Glass now, and then you
Dude,
got
their
six out
bullpen's
of
gonna be so
Otani.
fresh for this World Series.
Well, that could be a good thing or a bad thing because one of the talking points going into the postseason was is the Dodgers bullpen. That's why I didn't pick him to go to the World
Yeah.
Series. The bullpen doesn't look good. Like you got all these names like Kopech and Trinan and Vesia and whatnot, and not all of them have been really playing all that great, but they seem to find a really good role for Roki Sasaki coming out of the pen, being able to give you two or
Yeah.
three innings of relief. A guy that struggled when he did initially get called up in the starting rotation, but he seems to have gotten his stuff together, and it's been really good in high leverage situations. So they have found a weapon to put themselves in that spot. Tasker Hernandez has been another guy that's been coming up big at the plate. It hasn't really been, like I said, a big offensive performance. They didn't have to score a whole lot to beat the Phillies, and they didn't have to score a whole lot to beat the Brewers, especially when the pitching was doing as well as it was. But nevertheless, they're here now. And yeah, if I'm the, a neutral fan here, well, before I get into, yeah, the matchup there with the Blue Jays, any other thoughts on just what you've observed from the
No,
Dodgers in this run?
I just I saw them in person back in August, the beginning of August, end of July, and I thought they were good then, and that was in person in Great American. Um, and Otani actually played terrible that game. I think he went like 0 for 4 with 4 Ks or something like that. It was very funny. Um, but man, this team is just it's deep, man. Like when they want to put it on you, they'll put it on you. Right? Like from batters 1 through 7 or 8, it's like, oh, I don't want to face that guy really today. Otani's getting to the point where it's almost like a Barry Bonds treatment. I'm serious. I've said this a few times. There's gonna be a point with Otani that teams are just gonna be like, I'm gonna intentionally walk you every single time because when he is on fire, especially when he's on fire, when he is on, there's not many guys better than him out there. When he's off, he's a little bit more easy to handle. But for me, yeah, there's not much more else to say other than I think it's gonna be very hard for Toronto to keep up with them right now.
Yeah, so yeah, we got a matchup here with the Dodgers, the number two TV market in the country, and Toronto. I mean, they're one of the largest TV markets too. So this is a ratings, celebration for all the TV people, just like last year was with the Yankees and the Dodgers, and this year you got the Dodgers, the LA market tuning in, and then you got the whole country of Canada basically. So that's, I guess, exciting for people that care about that. But as far as the matchup goes, yeah, the Dodgers uh, won this series in five last year. We haven't had a back-to-back champ since the Yankees pulled it off in the 90s. So it's been a little while. And like you said, the Blue Jays haven't been in this spot for over 30 years also. Uh, when I look at this, right now, it's like it seems like the Dodgers pitching staff against the Blue Jays bats, and there were so many guys in that Blue Jays lineup that contributed. Like Springer had the big moments, and Vlad was pretty consistent all around. But then you had guys like Ernie Clement that's just what the heck? Where'd this guy come from? Coming up in big spots, Addison Barger coming up with big home runs. So the Blue Jays really seemed to feed off each other. They don't really swing and miss a whole lot or strike out a lot. They are a really good contact team. Uh, so that could maybe pose some concerns for the Dodgers after they get that bullpen in. But I guess what's some things that it seems like you're leaning the Dodgers, and I think
Oh yeah.
I'm leaning the Dodgers also. But if the Blue Jays were to steal a couple games or maybe find a way to win this series, how do you think that looks?
Well, first I'll just say that I think if you visualize this in a nice, imaginary picture, I just view that the Dodgers have a very fast minigun that's attached to both of their shoulders, flying at 1,000 meters per hour. Whereas I feel like
Man, Ben's so
the
deep in
Blue
Europe, guys. He
Jays,
said 1,000 meters
I
per
know,
hour
I'm
instead of
sorry.
miles.
Then the
Wow.
Blue Jays are like the dudes with the 22 repeater rifles that are just they're very accurate. They're going to get the job done when they need to, but they're not going to overwhelm you. And that's kind of how I view these two teams, right? Uh, I think the Dodgers are going to overwhelm them, but if they do take a few games, if Toronto can come away with a few games, which seems like no one can against the Dodgers, at least in the playoffs this year. I think you have to have an offensive, you have to have a pitcher for the Dodgers, whoever starts has to have a slightly off night, and you take advantage of that, right? Like we've seen teams that they don't take advantage of that, and then you get into these situations where you're now down a couple runs because the Dodgers offense is so good. The key is their starting pitching, though. I think ultimately Blue Jays starting pitching, because like if they don't have starting pitching, I don't care how good the bats are going to be. I think that the Dodgers are just going to run away with it. You have to steal one at their place, obviously. Steal one at their place, and you have to win your home games. And I think that's the only way you have a shot. Um, to me, I can't see it. I can't see them getting even. I think they're going to lose at least one of their home games, which then kind of puts them in a bind. And so that's where I kind of am leaning that way. And that's why I really think Dodgers probably win this in five. I'm going to say five. I think the Blue Jays will get one at home. But I think ultimately you're going to see the Dodgers pull away at home, and they're going to get that victory and go back to back. So, um, yeah, it's not what anybody wants to see as most baseball fans, but I think it's the reality that we're going to run into. And maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't think I am.
Yeah, at least looking at the ALCS, the strength of the Mariners and the reason I picked them to win the World Series was the starting pitching.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Bryce Miller was the only starter that made it, I think, farther than 4 innings
Hmm.
in that series. So they've seen some good starting pitching. And the games that they did win, with the exception of Game 7, they seem to be like blowout games. Like there weren't really a whole lot of like,
No,
5-3 or like 4-3 contests in this one. Like it was
no.
either the Mariners win by a lot or the Blue Jays win by a lot. And when they were Blue Jays were playing the Yankees, it was like the same deal. They lit up the scoreboard, and it's just leans into how this team feeds off of each other. But the reason I bring all that up is if they aren't feeding off each other for some reason, that could also open the opportunity up for a guy like Blake Snell or Yamamoto to be able to go deep
Yeah.
8 or 9 innings again. Because I think Snell was only at 112 pitches when he pitched eight, and Yamamoto I think was just around the 100 pitch mark too to go 9 innings. I mean, you're going like 11, 12 pitches an inning at that point. So
Yeah.
a team like the Blue Jays that doesn't strike out a whole lot, that's aggressive, that's like a heavy contact team. If it just happens to be a situation where you're hitting grounders to the infield or you're not going yard and it's just, fly balls to right or left field or wherever, that's how this game could go. These games could go really quick in the Dodgers' favor, and they may not have to, hit a whole lot. Of course, the Dodgers got the batting capacity to be able to, hang with the Blue Jays bats. It's just we haven't seen it come alive yet. And will it come alive at this stage? Time will tell. But going off of what we've seen so far, I think there is an opportunity for the Jays to be able to steal one or two here, just for the reasons that I said. If you can knock out a starter early and then force them to bring in some of these guys from the bullpen that haven't really been all that stable, with the exception of Sasaki and Vesia, then that could even lean into an even bigger blowout win. I think the Jays actually will take two. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Dodgers in six is my pick, but uh, the starters for the Blue Jays, credit to them for Getting to this point, we said Savage has come up in big moments. Max Scherzer came up with a big start, and I love the moment where Schneider came out to take him out, and he freaked out on him and said, "I'm finishing this inning,"
Yeah.
and then actually went out to pitch a little bit in the sixth. Like those are all well and good. Kevin Gossman's been pretty solid in all his starts against the Yankees and the Mariners. Uh, but I just think the pitching, the starting pitching heavily leans the Dodgers. Will the Dodgers bats come alive in this series? I don't know, but the talent's obviously there. I believe the Blue Jays bats will a few times string some, a bunch of runs together and steal two here. But I'm gonna go ahead and say Dodgers in six is my pick.
Mm. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then baseball season will be over just like that.
It will, and then we can talk about how much money the Reds will spend and how much money the Dodgers
I
will
bet it'll
spend and how
be
they're ruining baseball and how the
I bet it'll
Indians
be
aren't going to do
combined.
anything.
I bet it'll be combined. Guardians and Reds will combine spend what like one player's 1 year salary will be for the Dodgers. Guarantee it. Guarantee. The
There
combined
has
spend.
been there's been so much talk about how there's definitely going to be a lockout in 2027, and
There's going to be.
Dave Roberts even leaned into it after the sweep of the Brewers. He's like, we'll just continue to ruin baseball more, which I love that quote. I've been one of the people that's been pretty vocal that the Dodgers are not the team ruining baseball. I'll bring up an example right now of teams that are ruining baseball. The Brewers, Ben, it's been reported by several journalists that they're going to hear offers for Freddie Peralta, who has $8 million due next season on a team option. You just were the one seed. You made it to the NLCS, and you're already talking about dealing some of your star players away. The Boston Red
Well,
Sox not willing to pay Mookie Betts over 300 million when you're a top five market revenue generating team, and you gave him away basically for pennies is what's ruining baseball.
yeah.
It's there's all kinds of stories like this, and that's why I love that the Blue Jays paid Vlad to stay because it's just so anti the rest of the league.
That's
And
why
I
I'm mad that the Reds are not paying for De La Cruz. Like I'm like, dude, just lock him up. If it ends
yeah,
up being one of those things where it costs you, who
if
cares?
more
You took a
teams
shot.
did that, that would stop teams like the Dodgers, the
Because where's
Yankees,
De La
the
Cruz going to
Mets from
go?
being able to pay for all
De
that.
La Cruz leaves. Where's he going? There's two places he's going. It's either New York or it's L.A. It's the two places he's even said growing up. That's the teams he watched. He watched Derek Jeter and he watched the L.A. Dodgers. He wears the
You
L.A.
knew that
Dodger
Vlad wasn't
hats.
going to go to the Yankees because he hates the Yankees, and it was awesome to see him just kill them like that in the playoffs. But
Da Yankees
Yankees lose.
lose.
Yes. So that's who I would point to. I think a salary floor would be much more effective because if you have a cap, the same teams that don't want to pay their players are still going to
You should have
continue to
to
not pay
spend
their players.
150. You should have to spend 125, 150 million. That should be the min. I think 150 million is the minimum you should have to spend.
The Chicago Cubs, I'm pretty sure, generated more, like double the revenue of the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks still spent more money than the
And that's what I'm
Cubs
saying.
this
Like
season.
you should have to be required to spend 150 million at least.
Yeah. Yeah, enough with teams like Boston and Chicago pretending to be poor. Like, and even on the flip side, the Mets, I think, spent more than the Dodgers did this year, and they missed the playoffs, so it's not a guarantee even
Go
that
Reds.
spend money. Like, of course, I think that most of the World Series champions the last decade have been top 10, 12 as far as like spending goes. So you do have to spend some, but you don't have to be at the top. You just have to be in the top third. Don't
But then
pretend to be poor when you got money.
yeah, just be the Guardians, make it to the World Series, and then choke.
George Steinbrenner would not have lived or would have not have allowed the Yankees to spend over
Oh
half their
no.
revenue.
Oh no.
Like they're still one of the higher spending teams, but they're spending way less
Hey,
than what they're capable
one
of and what
day,
they ever have before.
one day the Guardians will spend a lot of money. Josh, I can feel it. One day. Maybe when we're
When
dead.
inflation hits that 200 million is more like 400 million, then yes, that's the day it will spend 400 million. But yeah, it's not going to be any time in my lifetime. I'm going to be telling my kids about all the players that went off to win championships for other teams, like how great it was to see Josh Naylor and facing off Shane Bieber in the ALCS. And it was like, yeah, that was two of our guys that could have been leading us to another championship run, hopefully. But no, they were doing it for other teams, and they were on that stage, not any of our guys. So, by the way, I'm rooting for the Dodgers in this series because, as I was pointing out to some buddies, the Blue Jays during the 2016 ALCS when we were playing each other, they had no leg to stand on. They were getting demolished that series. So what they were leaning into was the Indians is racist, the Chief Wahoo logo is racist, and they tried to file some kind of ban on the logo and the team name, which a judge immediately shut down. But the radio broadcast team was leaning into that too, and I honestly think that. got the conversation generating enough that eventually led to the Guardians name. So I will never forgive the Blue Jays for that. I don't care how much the Dodgers ruin baseball in the eyes of everybody else. I want them to sweep the Blue Jays for all I care. And it sucks because I love going to Rogers Center and seeing the game over there last year. I love Vlad, one of my favorite players, but I want him to be ringless as far long as he's in a Blue Jay uniform.
Look at that. I love the
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah, that's the contained version. I could have gone a little harder than that, but we got more to talk about,
We
Ben.
do.
So I'll just go ahead and end the baseball conversation right there because what a weekend of college football we also had. There was so many teams in the top
Hey,
25 that went down
Josh,
this week, and some
I thought Miami was supposed to be the next Miami great team. That's what I
we
thought,
both
Josh.
said it. Power
I
rankings,
know.
we got the
I
receipts,
thought
but
I thought
that was Friday night. So while I'm paying attention to Shohei Ohtani going
yeah,
six
same.
shutty 10Ks, that game finishes. I'm like, oh shoot, Miami lost
And
to Louisville.
they got racked, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, that wasn't even a
I
game.
think Beck threw 3 or 4 picks in that game,
Four
and for the
picks?
game to be as close as it was, I for one, it speaks to how Miami can still win in multiple ways. They can overcome stuff like that, but 4 picks is just
Well,
too much
my buddy that
for
is
most teams to come overcome.
history teacher at the school I'm at, he played the marching band at Georgia. He was so happy when he saw that score. He's like, finally, the real Carson Beck came back. And I was just like,
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. We wondered if Carson Beck's been a pick machine in the past a couple times, but Louisville's also that team that seems to go 8-4 every year, and they beat two teams they shouldn't,
I
but they
know.
aren't ranked because they lose the two teams they shouldn't. Also, Jeff Brom does a great job over there, but yeah, that was my takeaway from that is
Have you seen the thing they did after they won? They posted the thing when he was in the XFL and they said, "Hey, you took a big hit. Are you going to play? You going to play today?" And
oh yeah, he came back
he
for the
goes, "I have
halftime
two
after a
questions
concussion.
for you. Got two questions for you.
Is this the XFL?
Is this
Yes, it
for yes,
is.
it is. Is my heart beating? Yes, it is.
It is.
I'm playing." I
Yeah,
just loved
I
it.
love that. That's like one of Jeff Brom's big moments from his playing days. So it speaks to the kind of person he is as far as football goes. But yeah, Miami, they had to go if they make the ACC championship, 8 straight weeks of playing, of course, unranked teams, but all these teams are going to be giving you their best foot forward. And at the
No,
end of the year, you're going to be playing in cold weather environments. So it's like, are they going to be able to handle this?
Indiana, and Ohio State took care of business against unranked teams.
They did. It's very hard to do, which is another reason why I'm not really a fan of the, well, they haven't played anybody
Yeah, it's true.
conversation when
Everybody's
we're talking
somebody.
about ranked teams. If we're comparing two teams and like somebody's got a couple ranked wins and the other team doesn't, then I think that's valid. But it's objectively still hard to come out and beat teams on an unranked schedule,
Yeah,
especially if you're, you know, a team like Miami that
yeah.
everybody's going to be bringing their best foot forward to. They want to take you down. They want to be that team. So, yeah, Miami goes down this week. Uh, let's see. One of the other teams that was in that conversation of, well, they haven't played anybody was BYU, and the Holy War with Utah was
Which
the
is the
one
great.
game
Well,
that I
by the
got
way,
to watch this weekend.
the greatest name
It
for
is.
a game.
In a world where we are trying to get rid of great rivalry names like the Red River Shootout and the Civil War between Oregon and Oregon State, and the Holy War is also now getting discussion about being offensive. No, we need to get
First
these
off, oh wait, how
suits
can it be
out of the
offensive?
office.
How can it be offensive to two like Christian nation, like Christian in a sense? Like it's not even like two, whatever. Just
Yeah,
so
it's mostly
stupid.
just white people deciding who can be offended by what and who needs to be offended by what. Like, get all these suits
Uh,
out of here, man. Like, these people love the name. First off, first takeaway is we need more quarterbacks like Bear Bachmeier. I know
dude.
you hate the 47
Okay,
jersey,
I
but
will say I hate
quarterbacks that look like running backs wear
no, I love it.
uncharacteristic numbers
No,
and play like scary like
I
that. We
loved
need
how he
more of those in
played.
college
I
football.
loved how he
Yeah.
played. I do. He's reminding me of Tim Tebow a little bit. I just hate the fact you're wearing 47. I like to me, I can get away with like, someone wearing like in the 20s. It's not as weird because I feel like you sometimes
What
cite
about when
someone.
Devin Brown wore
No, I
33?
hated it. I was very opposed to it. I was like, this is stupid. Like at one point, like where are we going to stop the line? Is there going to be like an 86 quarterback? Like that just is weird to me. Even zero is weird. Like I hate when quarterbacks wear zero because then I'm just like that's just even more weird. But no, I thought Utah played really well. But BYU, man, they just have that it factor, man. Like they just have that ability. And by the way, they're sneakily like going to be in the college football playoff, by the way. Like people aren't really talking
They
about it, but
might.
like they literally might win the Big 12 because Arizona State keeps losing, Texas Tech
Well,
loses.
Arizona State ain't out yet. They survived with Texas Tech, of
Yeah, but what I'm
course.
saying is all these teams are knocking each other off, and BYU's
Yeah,
like, okay, fine, we'll just keep winning,
yeah.
and you go that way.
They got a backloaded schedule, so they did get the Utah game out of the way. They got Iowa State this weekend, and Iowa State's actually the betting favorite right now in
Yeah,
Vegas. Then they got to go at Texas Tech. They got to host TCU, who's 5-2. Then they got to go at Cincinnati, who's 6-1 and ranked right now. So we'll find out what BYU's made of.
Could Cincinnati squeak in there?
Yeah, the
Wouldn't
Big
that be
12. I
interesting?
I said at the beginning of the year how crazy
It
the
truly
run
is.
could be. The race is still very much open, but it might not be any of the teams that we would have thought. But just highlighting some of the moments here. Utah 2 turnovers, BYU none. Utah 12 penalties, BYU 5. I also found it interesting, Ben. They brought up a graphic. Utah's been playing with 6 offensive linemen on like 48% of snaps,
Hmm.
which is by far the most in FBS. Speaks to how they don't really have the skill, position talent that they need to like be
They
a serious
rely way too
contender.
much on their quarterback to run, way too much.
Yeah, yeah. And even still, with like that extra protection, I thought that BYU did a good job of pressuring Dampier and making him look pretty uncomfortable at
Dampier's
moments.
going to get hurt one of these days. Like he's legit going to get like
Yeah,
because he's just going to get beat up, man. He runs the ball like 25 times a game.
they rely on him a lot. Like definitely a warrior, and credit to him for that. But Utah, they're going to need a little bit more than just him if they're ever going to be a team that we take seriously. And I believe in Kyle Whittingham, and I believe they'll get it done, but just not this season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That was 2 games that I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
There's just so many. We're going to kind of
Yeah.
condense this to mostly just highlights. But speaking of like teams that went down, Texas Tech went down to Arizona State. It was a game that we talked about last week, where it's like Arizona State, they got 2 losses. If they lose
Well,
this
Levitt
third,
was
that
back, so that did help.
and Lovett did come back. Yeah, they had the home field here, and they survived and keep their playoff hopes alive as well as their
Baylor
Big 12
lost.
championship hopes alive. Yeah, Baylor lost their third game also. A team that didn't lose, Texas A&M, although Arkansas gave them their best shot, they won 45 to 42 in that one. Uh, Another team that didn't get it done, Ben, Nebraska. Minnesota takes
Not
them down.
surprised. Not surprised.
Well, here's a few things that I don't think a lot of people thought about. Matt Rule is getting all this talk about the Penn State job, and maybe he's having phone calls and conversations behind closed doors and is not focused on the task at hand. Just the way that Minnesota won, like 24-6. I think Dylan Raiola got sacked 9 times in this game.
Yeah.
Nebraska, I think, only ran 35 yards in this game.
And
And
by the
PJ
way,
Fleck and
this is
the
the same team that
Sky Ma, man.
this is the same team that got beat by Ohio State by 50. So
Yeah,
this
like Minnesota is
Minnesota lost
not
to Ohio State
a
by 50.
Minnesota is, I think, 5-2, so you can say they're still a good team by like, the field standards,
Yeah, they
but
got killed by Ohio
not a
State.
team that should be beating Nebraska 24-6.
But what does that say
Uh,
about Nebraska versus Ohio State? Jeez.
yeah, it's it's not the matchup that I guess we all would have expected. Bama continued to roll. They got their fourth straight ranked win this
Yeah.
week or this
Indiana
last week.
won, Notre Dame won.
Yeah. Texas survived overtime at Kentucky.
Dude, Texas looks bad, dude. They look so bad.
It's not good. Yeah, like thank goodness they survived and kept their
Manning,
playoff hopes
Manning,
alive.
I think has slipped to like the sixth round of the draft at this point. Like
He's
he just
he's
seems
absolutely coming back. I don't think he ever was going to leave, but he's absolutely coming
he's
back. He had
got to.
132 yards, completed less than half his passes, no touchdowns. Memphis, that's another team that lost for the first time this week.
Yeah.
UAB took them down 31 to 24. A team that fired their coach Trent Dilfer, coming out and playing for the interim, you could say, on their home field.
Oh man. UCLA
Missouri
won again.
survived. Say that again. UCLA rolled again.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, they won again.
Florida State
Yeah.
and Penn State lost their 4 straight games, each of them.
Dude, Florida State is terrible.
Oh, this is actually where we can talk about this. I thought that after a 4 straight loss for Mike Norvell, or even back-to-back shutouts for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, that maybe Sunday or Monday we'd be talking about the next
Nope.
head coach being fired. And while that still is a possibility this year, it was Billy Napier who got
Yeah.
a win over Mississippi State that ends up being the guy to get the boot.
How do you feel
It's
about
like
that
he
there,
just
Josh?
won. Like this is how it happened with Dan Mullen too. I think they waited too long to fire him. He won some games, and then it just was weird when they fired him. But The buyout was only 21 million, so way less than what Penn State's paying James Franklin, but that is
Urban,
again
Urban,
another big time coach to go down.
Urban.
I
Is
don't think it's
Urban
going to
come
be
back?
Urban, and I don't think it's going to be Lane Kiffin, who that's the name that everyone keeps saying heavily, heavily,
James
heavily.
Franklin.
Lane
James. Oh,
Kiffin.
please, James Franklin. Oh, I. This
You
show
know
would
what?
be
I'd
so
welcome James
amazing.
Franklin. I'd welcome James Franklin. I
This
think
show
that's
would
a
be
top
amazing.
10, top 15 coach in college football that,
Listen,
gets
but if you guys can't
criticism
win
that he
big games, I would
deserves.
give you such a hard time every single time.
You know what? Right now, we're just trying to be ranked, Ben. We just got to be ranked. We haven't
Someone
been able
said,
to do that.
someone said that Florida is not a blue blood anymore because they haven't been able to win anything outside of those 2 years in '07 and '08 in the '90s.
Yeah, the potential's there. I think the Florida job is top 15 in the whole grand
Well,
landscape. Just location, uh, resources, all those things definitely play out. That's why
just gotta
Texas
just
A&M has always
win,
been a big job to me.
just
But
win.
yeah, they haven't been able to get the right guy in there since
How
Urban
about
Meyer
don't
has
lose to
gotten out.
USF? Like,
Yeah, don't lose to USF. Don't lose to freaking. Um, the list goes on. There's been some bad losses over the years. Kentucky's gotten a few times when they shouldn't have.
well, you did have a good segue there because the two games that popped out to me, Josh, was well the one with Wisconsin versus Iowa State. One, I thought Luke Fickle would have his team more prepared. I don't. That team looked like they just never
Shut out the weekend
like.
before against
But this is the
Iowa and
thing.
shut out
They
this
looked.
weekend with Ohio
But
State.
I watched that whole game, Josh. They looked like they didn't even like want to be there. Like when you see a team like Penn State, I mean UCLA looked like that before they fired their coach. They kind of just
Yeah,
looked very like out of
yeah.
it. They
I
didn't really
really think Penn
care.
State quit.
And UCLA is the same thing. Like UCLA looked very much like they didn't care. Then they fire their coach, and now all of a sudden they're good or they're at least decent. I look at Ohio State, man. I can tell you this, Josh, and I said this last week. The 17 points to Illinois, like some of that was scrub points. When this team plays all the way through and they have that defense, dude, this defense is unreal, dude. Like it's up there with that Georgia defense and then the Miami defense back in 2001. Like this defense is unreal. Like the way they cover ground, they mix it up. They'll do four down linemen, they'll do three down linemen, they'll do two down linemen. Like Caleb Downs is shooting all over the place, and the guy that just I kept talking about Sonny Styles like all off season, and then Arvell Reese came out of nowhere, who's 6'4.5" and 235 pounds and runs about a 4.48. Like the dude is he chased down quarterbacks from the other side of the field. Like he hit the it's so funny. There's so many views of when a running back is like supposed to block him and he just steps to the other side because the running back is like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't need this right now. And look, this offense, Julian Sane, this was the best game we've seen of Julian Sane. And I can tell you
Oh, for
this,
sure. Yeah.
and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to just point out, say it, and it's going to be a little bit of a little read into my Heisman list. He's going to be near the top, if not the top, because I can tell you this. When you throw over 80% of your completions, and by the way, it wasn't dinking and dunking. People kept saying in the comments, like, oh, he's just dinking and dunking. This dude was throwing balls midair with dude getting two guys around him, grabs the ball with his helmet pulled off, and scores a touchdown. There was another ball, the end of the game, where he's rolling out to his right. He flings it like sidearm, and it somehow makes it between Ennis and the out of bounds line with about 3 feet to go. Sayan is putting this ball on the money every single time he throws it. He's making right decisions. He's not forcing the ball. And if they can just get that run game going, dude, this team is going to be unbeatable. And because they took care of business. And Miami fans can't come at me because Miami fans didn't take care of business when they had to. Ohio State came in there and said, we're going to put the pedal to the metal. We're going to score 17 points right away. And now you have to play catch up. And let's be honest, Wisconsin with that terrible offense, which is probably the worst offense in all of college football, is not
It's up
scoring
there.
17 points. And I feel bad for Luke Fickle. I love Luke Fickle. He's got to go. I mean, you can't score 0 points in back-to-back weeks in Division One football and still have your job. And so for
Yeah.
me, this is what the team looks like, and I'm so proud of these Buckeyes, man, because this team is better than last year's team, and it's scarier than last year's team.
They got I mean, from here they got Penn State. They got to bye this week, and then they got Penn State, which that game not exciting now. Then they got to go at Purdue. They host UCLA. They host Rutgers before the Michigan game. I don't think there shouldn't be any losses in that
No.
stretch, and with the way the defense plays, I don't think there will be.
And Carnell Tate's a wide receiver one, by the way, in every other team.
He probably is, yeah. Like
It's a freak.
Jeremiah Smith is generational. Carnell Tate would be wide receiver one in a lot of other rooms out there. Notre Dame survived. They kept their
Yeah.
season alive with that 10-point win over USC. And Jeremiah Love burst onto the scene with over 200
Hmm.
yards. Finally had a good game against a good team. It's been a while.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think this is a good time to go ahead and talk about our power rank just for time's sake right now and
Yeah.
update our Heisman list because, man, dude, this was a tough one for me this week, figuring out how to, I guess, go in order
Not for
here.
me.
From an AP point, it'd be harder, but power ranking, just trying to pick the five best teams I think out there, it was a little easier. But I dropped Miami from 2 to 5. I still think this team is, built to win in multiple ways. The 4 picks by Beck was just, too much for most teams to be able to overcome. And
Yeah.
they've beaten all the good teams on their schedule so far, so the potential's still there. Uh, I got Indiana at 4. I don't think that I moved them at all
Let's
from
see.
where they were
Nope.
before.
You didn't.
Yeah, Indiana stays at 4. Texas A&M either stays at 3
Stays at
or
three.
is at 3. Yeah.
Stays at three.
Uh, Again, showed that they can win in a shootout. Arkansas gave them their best shot, but would like to see the defense play a little bit better than that. But Texas A&M's been another team that's been shown they can win multiple ways and been beating good teams. I got Alabama shot shooting up to 2, Ben, and I know they got the one loss to Florida
Hmm.
State week 1, but I think from there they
Oh,
are a
different team.
totally different
Different
team,
team.
totally different team. Got their fourth ranked win in a row, beat a good Tennessee team,
First team
and
ever,
then
by
their
the way.
second loss.
First team
Yeah,
ever, by the way.
yeah, like in the way that Vanderbilt played against LSU this weekend, like we can say Vanderbilt's a good team. I think it's not
Yeah.
just a fluke there. I think that Tennessee's a good team. We've seen them play well this year. We've seen Georgia. We Most people are going to say Georgia's a good team. Like they are beating good teams out here, and
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's got any more ranked wins than them. So I'm putting them at 2, and I'm keeping Ohio State at 1. That defense is the single best
Would you
individual unit
agree?
in college football this season.
Would you agree it's like a high state here and everyone else down here? That's how I view it, at least in my mind. That's just my personal opinion. I
Mm.
don't think there's a team right now. If you put them on the field the same like the current way it is right now, I don't think there's a team in college football that could beat Ohio State right now. If you put
As
up four
far as the
quarters.
gap, I'm
Maybe
not
not a
sure how
big
big it
gap,
is, but
but there is a gap.
they're definitely in a tier of their own. Like if you want
Yeah.
to go like, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 teams, like I think Ohio State's in a tier of their own at 1 right now, and then Indiana, Alabama, and Texas A&M, Miami are, you could argue an order there. I think they're all like tier 2, but I think Ohio State is in a league of their own right now. And just a few weeks ago, we were saying it looks like them, Oregon,
And Miami.
and Miami all in one. But yeah, I think Ohio State is starting to separate.
Yeah, and I can kind of attest to that. I think number 5 for me, I have Miami, same reason as you. They beat everyone else. They're just this bad loss. It might hurt them even more in the future. We'll see. 4, I'm going to leave Texas A&M again. That scared me against Arkansas. Dude, they should beat Arkansas, man. They have an interim coach, man. You should be put. That's a
Auburn
statement
almost
win.
took them down too,
Yeah.
so it's not like they're this unstoppable
No.
force, but they're
No.
getting it done. And like we
Yeah.
said with Miami, they couldn't get it done. A&M's getting it done right now,
Yeah.
but they're not unbeatable. I
Yeah.
think they will lose a game.
Yeah. And then 3, I have Alabama. I love Alabama, man. I'm starting to see where I was wrong earlier in the year. I think it was partly because of the loss to Florida State really stuck with me. I was
We
like,
really
this
didn't
is
know what to make of
yeah.
that. It was week 1.
But they're looking good. But then of course I'm on the Indiana train, man. I think it's more because the kind of nostalgia feel. I saw something today where it was like, are we really in a world where Vanderbilt, Indiana is like the top 2 like teams in college football right now? But it is, and
Yeah.
Vanderbilt.
Have we talked last since Kurt Signetti got his extension too?
No, but I think he's well deserved, man. And I think
Third highest paid
and
coach in the league, and
they
just
did
three
that.
years ago he was like at what, James
Yeah.
Madison?
Does this tell you though that maybe there was truly some rumblings about him going to Penn State? Because that makes me wonder because his name came out and then within a day he had an extension. Part
Yeah,
of me
I
wonders if Kurt Signetti went to the AD and was like, "Listen, either you keep me here or I'm going to go on over to Penn State." Like
he
that's the vibe
definitely
was giving me.
I don't know if he necessarily did that. He definitely have had leverage to do so, but I think it was just to quiet all the noise
Yeah.
and just let him know that, you're staying in Indiana Hoosier. Like the Matt Rule discussion to go to Penn State, maybe it got a little in the way and you lose a game that you shouldn't. But I think the athletic department was like, you know what, we got a good one.
Let's
What a
keep it.
turnaround for IU, by the way. Let's keep him here. And he just got extended last year too, making
Yeah.
like 8 million. So now he's the third highest paid coach in college football, behind only Ryan Day and Kirby Smart. And I mean, we'll see how that plays out because everybody thought the Mel Tucker extension in Michigan State was good and it ended up being bad. They had a big
Different but
buyout over
different
there
culture
to
though.
deal with,
Different
but
culture.
yeah, yeah. We'll find out how good of a decision this is long term. But I think right now, like I love the move, like
Yeah,
in the
me
moment
too.
right now.
Me too.
So, and then I assume you got Ohio
Oh
State at
yeah.
one then.
It's not, yeah, they're not even going to debate it. It's fine.
Is
Moving on.
Ohio State
Yeah.
right now, Ben,
Yeah.
having the quietest journey to pursuing back-to-back championships
I
that we've seen in a while?
I think so. You know why? Because I feel like everyone's talking about all the other top teams, and no, if you watch media around ESPN, Fox, or anybody, unless you watch like specific guys like Joel or RJ Young, but like for the most part in all these shows, they're never talking about Ohio State.
That's what
They
I'm
talk about
noticing too. Like
every other
national
team.
media is talking about everybody else, and Ohio State is just, casually cruising to like 35 to 15 wins or
Like
30 to nothing
I'm like
wins. And
okay,
it's just like
you know
this is
Ryan Day's
last year's
loving it
national champion, and they haven't lost the game yet. And we're talking about all these other teams and whether or not
because
they can go undefeated.
Because honestly, Josh, this is what it was. It was back at the beginning of the year, before the year started, they said, well, Ohio State's lost so many guys on defense. And they said, we they're not going to be able to recover from that. And that's kind of like where they left it. And then when Ohio State started playing, they were nitpicking Ohio State the beginning of the year against Texas. And then after that, they kind of stopped talking about them. Well, I think that's perfect for Ryan Day. And I think Ryan Day loves this. He's like, you know what? You don't want to talk about us? That's fine. We're going to keep on rolling. We're going to keep doing our thing. And I don't know if you watch some of the stories about what he does with mental health with his guys and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
Ryan Day cares, and he cares about building a culture. And he even said in an interview with I think Kurt Herbstreit, he's like, "Yeah, if you're not here to like be a high state Buckeye, if you're not here to like be in this culture, we don't want you." And I love that because it's like I don't care if you're a 3 star, a 4 star, or a 5 star. If you don't want to be here, we'll find a guy that fits us. And you see that with some of these other guys they brought in, and they've kind of developed and become these mainstay guys. And man, it's just kind of fun to see. And I do love what you just said there because I feel like they could be a back to back champion, and people don't realize it until the championship game. And they'd be like, wait a minute,
yeah.
we haven't even talked
Like
about this all year.
we're talking about in baseball right now about the Dodgers being like the first team to go back to back. And I know when Alabama or like anybody wins a national championship, like Georgia, it's like, okay, can they repeat? Can they be a three-peat?
And
It's
High
always a
State was
topic
like
of
no.
discussion.
High State was no. That was like the first thing
And
everyone said.
yeah, even in 2014, like when they had everybody coming back for
Yeah,
2015, and that ended up being like, as disappointing as it was, we had a lot of people talking then about back to back then.
yeah.
But so I don't know if it's like specifically an Ohio State thing, but maybe just I guess the amount of guys they lost and nobody's like recalibrate expectations and everybody's like, enamored by all these other teams that are
I
losing that
mean,
they're
dare I say they
forgetting.
have a better quarterback this year than they did last year?
Oh, they absolutely do. They
Yeah,
absolutely do. I don't care what anybody says. I know like people loved Will Howard for winning a national championship. There was definitely deficiencies there, not your typical Ryan Day quarterback. And you got one with Julian saying, which
which, by the
let's
way,
just go
people
ahead
said
and
he
talk
didn't have.
Heisman's.
Someone asked him. They said people didn't have a. He doesn't have a cannon, and then he just throws some peppers this weekend. I think he had a purpose for throwing those the way he did.
Yeah. To be at completing 80% of your passes this far into the season
Is
is
ridiculous.
absolutely insane. So, yeah, that's a good segue to get into Heisman's
Yeah,
right here. And I'll start off with my five, and then we'll
yeah.
just go one by one here. I still got Jeremiah Smith here. I think he had a good game this weekend, and I want to still have a token non-quarterback in my top five, and who better for it to be than Jeremiah Smith. Justice Haynes didn't have a good game a couple weeks ago, and then he missed the Washington game with an injury, and he figures to be back this weekend. But that's why he's out. Ahmad Hardy's had back-to-back sub 60-yard games, which you don't really like to see. USC's got some receivers that are balling out, but I don't know if they really have the name recognition to be on that platform. And I hate having five quarterbacks, so I'm going to hold Jeremiah Smith right here.
Driving from two. I like that. Yeah, for me, I was tempted to put Carnell Tate, but I'm not going to be that much of a homer, Josh. I'm not going to be that much of a homer.
Gosh, yeah, I would have murdered
I
you in the
I know
chat.
you would have. No. Jeremiah Smith is going to be at five. I dropped him from two. I think Jeremiah is quietly still having a really good year, by the way. He's still having a
Yeah.
really good year. He just not as flashy as last year. And I think partly is because of Carnell Tate, which is really funny because there's going to be a point this year where they start doubling Carnell, and then Jeremiah's going to look over and be like, one on one. Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Or
you
they just start
you can't
doubling those two
really
guys, and then you have Max Clare running down the seam.
you can't really one-on-one single coverage any of those
No,
guys right now.
no.
So
So I have Jeremiah Smith at five.
new face for me in the top five, and it's just one of those like guys you just can't
Oh,
ignore at this point, I
please
think.
don't tell me you're gonna put the who I think you're gonna put it for. No, just go ahead and say it. Please don't be that guy.
Josh Hoover.
Okay, thank goodness it's not the one I thought you were gonna put.
Josh Hoover, the quarterback at
Oh,
TCU. I think they're 5-2 right
yeah.
now. So it's one of those situations where the team's success is probably gonna hold him back from getting more talk, but he's second to Sawyer Robertson in total passing yards right now, I think.
Hmm.
He's tied for first in passing touchdowns. And he's a big reason why TCU has been one of the more, I think, underrated teams and one of those teams that still very much got a chance in the Big 12. I think there was a lot of talk about him potentially being a furry at the start of the year, and
I'm sorry. I'm
that was
sorry.
that was absolutely hilarious. I don't know how much truth there was to that, but it's just like, gosh,
Yeah.
man, like what a way to start the season off. And uh, now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now as far as
Yeah.
statistics go. So I got him at 4.
I'll be honest, I'm dropping Marcel Reed out of this. He was at 5 last week. It just doesn't feel like he has the it right now. Like I don't know, it's just certain guys you just don't feel like they have the it. And so for me at 4 is Fernando Mendoza. Dude, I love the way he plays, man. I've been hesitant to put him in, and I'm finally like, you know what? I have an open spot now, and I'm going to put him there at number 4. And I love the way he's leading this offense.
The efficiency stats are there. We'll see if the totals can come around, but team success can definitely play a factor in narrative too. 3 for me is Ty Simpson. Come out and get another ranked win in a row. This is one of those guys that's just, even in that Florida State loss, he was playing tough. It's just the whole team around him wasn't where they needed to be yet. But Ty Simpson's absolutely one of the big reasons why Alabama's winning the games that they are. Dude just makes, big plays, clutch plays when they need him to. Um, so yeah, Ty Simpson's at 3.
Yeah, Ty Simpson's at 3, moves up 1 for me. More of just how the other guys played around in this list. But yeah, Ty Simpson, man, when he's on, he looks really good. I get the rest of the offense, he's good. I think also they need to start I feel like balancing a little bit more on that offense with Alabama, but I think overall they're really good, and I think they have what it needs to make a run for sure.
Yeah, for like a long playoff run, especially when it gets cold, we're going to need Jim Miller and that run game to
Yeah,
come around a little bit more than what it has. But for now, it's been working. Number 2, I got Julian Sayin here, and it's mostly just because, like, I mean, the totals are coming around, like they're moving
especially
up.
after
He
this
still leads the
week.
country, yeah. Especially after this week, putting together the game that he did, and the interceptions are down and the touchdowns are moving up, and he's moving up in the yards. And I'm going to go ahead and say this right now, Ben. Even though he's not number 1 on my chart, if I had to throw money on who I think is going to win the Heisman by the end of the season, it's Julian
As
Sayin.
a freshman, by the way, which is
As a
wild.
redshirt freshman, Julian Sayin, yes, I would go ahead and throw money on.
But
Like, even though I don't have him at 1 right now, I think he's eventually going to be, and he's going to have a lot going for him that's like, yeah,
and
you're
here
going to have to make him the Heisman. So if the season ended today, that wouldn't be. But if you were to tell me, Josh, here's $100, throw it on who you think's going to win the Heisman, I would say it's Julian Sayin. That's who my pick would
and
be
they
right
have
now.
another year of him next year, which makes it even crazier. They'll at least have next year with him, which is like just
At
wild to
least
think
one more
about.
year, yeah, of this. So yeah,
Um,
Sayin's at 2.
2 for me is Sawyer Robertson. This black past game, just I watched
Dang
part of
it.
it, and it looked bad, dude. I mean, at one point he was under 50% completion percentage, and he had like a pick. I'm like, dude, this isn't the guy that's been consistent all year long, and he's been hesitant. The team's not been great, and then finally this is the moment for me. So I drop him, and that means number 1 for me is Julian Sane because what they say
I
is
thought I was so cool coming out here and saying, you know what? If I had to pick a guy by the end of the year, it's going to be Julian Sayin. And then you throw him at 1 right here after this game.
all I gotta say is I've been one step ahead of you, and I'm once
You
again one step
have,
ahead of
and
you.
we can argue whether in the moment it was the right move or not, but at
Oh,
least
it's
the future still continues to prove it's right.
all I can say is that you know he truly is saying something special with what he does. That's a bad joke. Anyways, it
Yeah. So
to me, look, it just the way he played this week is the saying that I think we all knew he could be and had to be. And I think this was finally Ryan Day saying, let's unlock it and let him go with it. They knew Wisconsin was bad. They knew they couldn't keep up with them. So let's let unleash him. And if this is the Julian saying we get the rest of the year, Josh, dude, if this is the Julian saying we get the rest of the year, I do not know if there's a guy who you can visibly put ahead of him. Unless Mendoza beats him in the Big Ten championship game, that's the only way I see someone jumping him for this because I don't even think there's someone on this list right now that is playing better at the moment than Julian saying right now.
Yeah, I really wish we could get a Julian Mendoza matchup in the regular season, or even a Julian and Dante Moore matchup, but we're gonna have to settle on a Nico Imaliava matchup before we get to the Michigan game, unfortunately, with Bryce Underwood,
Which I
some
don't
of the
think
more
Nico
talented
wants to
young
come back to the
quarterbacks.
shoe because the last time he was at the shoe did not go well for him.
It did not go good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the fans, the crowd over there. So yeah, that leaves Sawyer Robertson at number one for me. But like I
Oh,
said, if I had to pick a number one or a guy to
you
win
were
it by the
hoping
end of the
so
year,
bad.
it's gonna be
you
Julian.
you were hoping so bad.
I flirted around with putting Julian at one. It's just Sawyer still got the totals on him right now.
Uh-huh,
But
yeah. I've been watching game
we
by
could be seeing
game,
that.
and game by game, Sawyer seems to be going down slightly every game.
I see the downtrend, yeah, and I see the Julian uptrend, which is why I was like, you know what? I think by the end of the year we're gonna be seeing Julian saying hoist up that trophy. But if the season were to end today, I think
So
I'm still
emotion
leaning
today
Sawyer.
from Josh. So much
So much,
emotion.
yeah, about Blue Jays ruining the Cleveland name, about people
Ben
thinking the
ruining
Dodgers are ruining
Ben ruining
baseball,
Julian Sane.
about you ruining my Julian Sane moment monologue right there. Yeah. So, well, we got like 20 minutes left here to talk
Yeah.
about some big games that are happening this weekend. So let's go ahead and wrap up the show over there, and then we might even say some nice things about the Cleveland Browns
Sorry,
performance
what?
on
Nice things
Sunday.
about the what? Uh-huh. Uh sorry.
Yeah. We'll kind of work our way from slow to large matchups here. So Illinois and Washington, I think, is worth discussing because both are 5-2 right now.
They
We
need to
thought
win.
Washington, and they need to win exactly. Playoff spot is on the line. We thought Illinois could be a playoff contender before the year. I know I said Washington could be maybe that sleeper team that contends, maybe even
They
makes the
got their
Big Ten
butt
championship game.
destroyed by
But yes,
Michigan.
they did. Michigan ran all over them without Justice Haynes. Marshall, the backup, did just fine, and I think Underwood. Continue to come out of his shell in that one. But Illinois, yeah, they got their nice games, beating USC with a game-winning field goal, but they also got that shellacking with IU that they had, and Washington, has lost to most of the good teams that they've played so far with the Michigan loss and then the Ohio State loss. I think those are their two best games. They don't really have that signature win yet. Uh, I'll go ahead and let you share anything you
No.
feel about this game or
I
team.
just I just think that these two teams are like very mid teams. I don't think they're not great teams. They're not bad teams. They're just very like middle of the pack teams in the Big Ten. And it's not where you want to be in the Big Ten because the problem is in the Big Ten is if you lose like one or two games in the Big Ten, you're kind of screwed. It's just kind of the way the Big Ten always feels out. And so now you're really fighting with can we get enough wins quality wins to get us in the last, the 10 or 11 seed in the playoff, or are you just shooting for, hey, let's just get the best we can and maybe we get, some top tier bowl game against someone. But I think if you're Washington, you're making strides, which is good. But if you're Illinois, man, this is got to be disappointing because you've gotten basically shellacked by the two best teams in the Big Ten, and you now can tell you're not even close to where you need to be.
Yeah. I think Illinois will go ahead and get it done here and
Yeah,
keep their season alive. There's been a little bit more that I've seen from them than I have Washington, and for that
yeah,
reason, I'll say Illinois keeps their, I guess, hopes alive with a win this weekend.
yeah. I'm gonna say,
Although it is worth noting, it is at Washington.
yeah. Yeah, I would say Illinois is going to win this game too. Actually, you know what? I think Washington's going to pull this out. I've been hesitant on this one, but I think Williams Jr. deserves to kind of have a bounce back game. Desmond Williams, and I love him as a quarterback. I think he's a really solid quarterback. I'm going to say it's at Washington. It's a tough place to win. I'm going to say Washington wins this. I'm going to go 30-27. It's going to be a tight game.
I think tight too. Yeah, good home field advantage over there in Washington. Illinois has, the far flight to take to get over there. I'm still leaning Illinois though, and I was actually thinking lower scoring, maybe to the tune of 24-20,
Hmm.
Illinois. We got another team that's also fighting for their life here, and that's the LSU Tigers, who got Texas A&M coming into town. And we just said, Texas A&M has almost been taken down by some teams that probably, don't even belong in the same discussion with them, like
Yeah.
Arkansas and like Auburn. But we've seen them win in multiple ways. We've seen them beat good teams like Notre Dame in week three to start the season off. That was, a good win for them. But LSU's got their backs up against the wall, and they just lost this weekend to Vanderbilt on the road. This game is at Baton Rouge at night. So, like I was just saying, I think Texas A&M is eventually going to go down. I don't know when it'll be exactly, but they're beatable. And I think a team like LSU, who's fighting for their season, who's
Kelly's fighting
won
for his
every single
job.
night game they've had this season. Yeah, Brian Kelly's wanting to keep his job. I think this is a spot where Texas A&M maybe Let me go ahead and look who
That's
Texas
who
A&M
Florida
has after
needs.
this
Brian
LSU game.
Kelly. That's who they need.
I don't care what people say, man. Brian Kelly would get us ranked. Like at this
Oh
point,
yeah,
if you're Florida,
ranked.
at this point, if you're Florida, you can't be like necessarily a team a guy this
I
program
think you
that's
bring
like
back
we need a
Steve
guy that can take us
Spurrier.
to a championship. Let's go ahead and get some
Steve
wins.
Spurrier. That's what you need.
So they got to go at LSU, Texas A&M does, and then they got to go at Missouri next. Like that, it's just a tough spot for them, I think. And LSU in the wounded animal mode, fighting for their season. I think this is a spot, especially with the home field advantage here, is tough of a place that is to play at Death Valley. I think this is a spot where LSU can hand A&M their first loss. What do you say?
I've been debating this back and forth, and the way Texas A&M's been playing, they're like a teeter totter that's about to break. And I really believe it's. I'm with you on this, man. I think LSU is. They're going to be hungry for this win after losing to Vanderbilt, which is just embarrassing. I don't care how good Vanderbilt is; it's just always embarrassing to lose to Vanderbilt in football. And so I'm going to go LSU. I think it's going to win this game. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be like a 20-17 game. I just don't think it's going to be that high scoring. I think LSU is going to pull out this.
That's what's tough about this is LSU's offense has been bad, and let me tell you how bad. In all
Bad.
their games, this is how many points they've scored. They've scored more than 25 points just once this year, Ben. And that was when they hosted Southeast
And we thought their
Louisiana. So
quarterback was going to be good.
we did. Garrett Nussmeier, and we've been told he's not 100%. And I don't know if that's an excuse or if that's legit or if it's offensive coordinator problems or what it is. But yeah, LSU's offensive outputs have been 17, 23, 20, 56 to Southeast Louisiana, then 19, 20, 24.
I feel like
So
that
if
that
they
OC
beat,
that OC is going to be fired after this year.
probably. And then you look at the A&M side, it's like they've exploded for, 30, 40 points several times this year, but we saw the Auburn defense get after them. And uh, Auburn's a team that can pressure the quarterback. I think LSU is going to need to do that with Marcel Reed in this game. Let me go ahead and check how that Auburn game went. Yeah, it was a 16-10 final. So A&M survived that scare right there. But uh, yeah, they got to Marcel Reed 4 times in that game. I'm going to need to see LSU do that. And it's going to be a defensive struggle, I think, if they do win. Because, like I said, they haven't been scoring the points even against the bad teams this year. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and say LSU wins 20 to 16.
I like that. I like that.
20 to 16 final there. LSU survives. A&M gets their first loss of the season. Uh, this will be a good one to talk. Mizzou and Vandy. Vanderbilt, of course, like we just said, they're a top 10 team right now. Who would have thought? Just the one loss to Alabama, but they've strung along some good wins for themselves. And Mizzou is coming off an almost loss to Auburn. Before that, they did lose to Alabama. They're starting to, I think teams starting to figure them out now. The one big thing I think for why Mizzou's been struggling, they haven't had the rushing attack from Ahmad Hardy that they typically have had. He's been under 60 yards both games, and that ended up costing them with Alabama, and it kept things close with Auburn, where they went to, I think, overtime or double overtime in that. And Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, they just look really good, Ben. Uh, this wouldn't
I
end
hate
either
I
team's
hate that he sounds
season if
good.
they lost.
I hate
I
that he's good. He just reminds me
mean,
of
he's
Manny
24 or
Zell.
25 years old, so he should be good, right?
He wants another year of eligibility. Like, who wants to stay in college football that long? I'm just saying, like, I love college football, but at one point, dude, just
At
move
one
on with
point,
your
you got to go to
life.
the NFL and make more millions.
Dude,
Or maybe he doesn't think he'll make that many millions in the
I
NFL, and
just
he
don't
can
know.
do that
I
at
just don't
Vandy.
know if Vanderbilt can keep this up. I really struggling to see it because we've never seen this from Vanderbilt before. So I don't. It's not like we can see in the past to see kind of how they do this. I, man, there's just something that tells me Mizzou is gonna pull off an upset, which is so weird again to say that that's gonna be an upset. Like, it's just
Mizzou
weird.
upset. It's Vanderbilt.
It's just weird.
So, counter to what you said about we haven't really seen this from Vanderbilt, what have you seen from Missouri, I guess,
Nothing.
lately?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. I just this game is a toss up to me. I don't know. I'm going to say Vanderbilt just for the fact that again we haven't seen from any team the consistency, and because Vanderbilt does have Pavia as much as I can't stand him, like he is electric and he does do things well. I want to say Vanderbilt wins this like 24-17, but it wouldn't shock me if Missouri wins this.
Yeah, a couple things to note right here. I think again that if Vanderbilt's going to have a shot to win this, they're going to have to contain the run. They kept LSU to 100 rushing yards in that game. Uh, let me see if I can find the total here for. Alabama. Alabama ended up rushing 146, so a little higher for their standards, but still, you kept them under 150 from the Vanderbilt point of view right there. So yeah, I think the keys to victory here are, Diego Pavia is probably the best player on the field right here, and can you contain that run game that
Mhm.
Mizzou's got? And I think Vanderbilt can do that. This is a 3:30 kickoff. Right now, Vanderbilt is a 2.5 point favorite, so Vegas is kind of like this is a coin flip. If
Yeah.
this is at Missouri, Missouri's probably the one that's going to be favored, but we'll see how rockin' Nashville is this weekend, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with Vanderbilt. I think they go ahead and pull this off.
Mm, I love it.
I think they'll score a lot too, and by a lot I mean like we'll see a 30 to 24 game. You got a score, or did you say a
No,
score?
I did say the score. I think what did I say? I said 24-17 was my score.
Okay,
Vandy.
yeah. Vandy's scored a lot of points against the bad teams they've played, but against like Power Five competition, like South Carolina, they scored 31. Alabama, they were held to 14, and then LSU they put up 31 on. So that's about like what I'd expect. Another big SEC matchup, two one-loss programs. We got Ole Miss going at Oklahoma. We saw Oklahoma get I don't know if convincing is the right word, but they scored 26, allowed 7 to South Carolina. So there wasn't really much to worry about with that game. And we got John Mateer playing a little bit better than he did against Texas. He had 150 yards in this one and a touchdown, no picks in this one. Oklahoma also got a 100-yard rusher in this game from Torrey Blaylock, which we haven't really seen them do yet. But of course, if you're going to do any first, it's probably going to be South Carolina against South Carolina because they suck. Gosh, man, that's one of those teams
So
that's just
bad, dude.
disappointing. Yeah,
They're so
all the
bad.
all the concerns about depth and
Dude,
offensive line
they have some of the
protection and
most
stuff.
talent out of any
Yeah,
SEC school, and yet they cannot. It's like Florida. It's like they don't know how to win.
and even Lenore Sellers honestly hasn't been all that impressive. Like
No.
in that game, he had
Well, it
124
doesn't
yards
help. It
and a
doesn't help when
touchdown.
you don't have an offensive line. So there's
Yeah,
so much you
and
can
some of
do.
that is he doesn't have like the help around him, but yeah, a disappointing season for South Carolina, nevertheless. Uh, but this is about Oklahoma, so Oklahoma gets back on their feet with the win here. Ole Miss is going to have to get back on their feet since they just I think lost their last game to Georgia.
I'm telling you, Josh, in this game, man, I'm really feeling like Oklahoma. Like this is the comeback from Texas. This is like I think this is where Mateer's like, hey, I'm still a Heisman chance, and I'm like, no, you're not. But still, I think Oklahoma does full way because I think Old Miss. Chambliss just doesn't. After watching this past game, I'm really starting to see that Division two kind of like he not really has much experience in this level, starting to seep out of him. And I think Mateer is going to somehow lead that team. So I'm going to say Oklahoma wins this game like 17-14. I'm going to say it's a low scoring game. It's going to be a grind out game.
Yeah, I mean against Georgia, Chambliss had 263 through the air, one touchdown, no pick, and led the team in rushing with 42 yards. But yeah, you got to have a little bit more than that, I think, to continue to win the way they have. Ole Miss has had a lot of close calls this year too. Like they beat Kentucky by 7, they beat Arkansas by 6. The win over LSU, although it was good, they won that one by 5. They escaped Washington State a few weeks ago by 3, and then Georgia finally took them down. And maybe this is the game. This will be Mateer's third start back. This is a guy that we thought was on pace to win the Heisman. And we do believe in Oklahoma's defense. That's a unit that hasn't really gone away anytime soon. But yeah, maybe some of the inexperience of Chambliss with competition like this. Maybe Oklahoma can get a little bit more production from the run game than what they have. Uh, in the as far as like this season goes, can Blaylock repeat as a 100-yard rusher? We'll find out. But yeah, I'm leaning Oklahoma in this one too. Vegas gives them a 4.5 point favorite here. This is a noon game also. Uh, I'll go ahead and say Oklahoma wins this one, kind of in a uh, we'll go 31 to 25. Ole Miss keeps it close. I think they're going
Hmm.
to compete in this one. It's just
Yeah.
I think they're going to go
Is it
down back-to-back weeks.
is it time to be somewhat happy for the Browns before we finish the show?
One other game I had on here, and I think this impacts at least the G5 bid team in the playoffs. That's South Florida is at Memphis.
South Florida's win that game. I'm just gonna say that. I think South Florida. I
I'm
like
leaning
South
South
Florida.
Florida too. Although Memphis has been good and they finally just lost their first game. South Florida's one loss was to Miami, and while Miami did handle them, South Florida has gotten some wins over some teams that they probably shouldn't have. Like the win over Florida, we can make fun of the Gators all we want, but the Gators were supposed to win that
Yeah.
game. They opened the season, against Boise State and shellacked them after letting a touchdown. They scored, I think, 34 or 35 in a row from there. And they've just continued to cruise. Alex Golish is probably going to get some really nice offers after this season to be at some of these Power Five jobs that continue to open up. But yeah, I've thought for a little bit now that Florida State's the best team in G5, and Memphis is definitely going to give them a run for their money. But yeah, I'm leaning South Florida right here. Right now, they're a 4.5 point favorite. Memphis is the home team. This is a noon game, also. I think
Yeah,
we're going to see a lot of points in this one too. These kind of games tend to be pretty high scoring, and
that is true.
why not go ahead with like a 41 or 35 win for South Florida here?
I'm gonna go 35-28 South Florida.
Alrighty. Yeah, so why don't we go ahead and talk about the Browns? That matchup with the Dolphins and
That
the
was
let's
the
get our
ugliest
coach
game I've ever
fired
seen.
bowl.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
it really
the
wasn't
ugliest
pretty.
game I've ever seen in my life. Honestly.
Not like a. I mean, we've seen some ugly games. We've seen the Browns like lose games 3-0 before, but
Can we just agree that Tua has like not much brain cells left? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just generally like I'm worried about him because like
concussion wise,
he throws passes that there's no one there except a Browns guy, like legit. And I don't know, like, and my friend has said that too. Like, what is there? Like, is there something honestly wrong with him because he just doesn't seem like the same Tua we saw 6 years ago. Um,
I mean,
and
I never was really high on Tua to begin
no,
with.
I
I
wouldn't
thought they
either.
paid him way too much money too soon for accomplishing nothing, but we have seen him play better than this. And you still only have Tyreek Hill out.
And
You
when you
still got
lose,
Jalen Waddle in the building. You got Devin A. Chain out
got
there.
freaking more talent than the Browns do outside. Seems like because Jerry Judy
Yeah.
has just went to a shell. I don't even know where that man has been and where he's gone. It's
I
sad
mean
that
it
the Browns are being led by basically rookies, rookie quarterback, rookie running back. By the way, Judkins finally looking like the Judkins we thought he would be, and he's probably looking like the best running back in the class.
three
He's
rushing touchdowns. Yeah, I think
he
he's
leads
running
he
back one.
leads he leads running backs and rookie running backs in every category. You have the leading tackler for rookies. You have the leading reception getter in Fannin, who would have thought that over Njoku and over Judy, but
Yeah.
Fannon's looked amazing. I think would not shock me if the Browns decide to kind of cut loose some of these veterans after this year and just go young and say we're just going to figure out how to build this. But I will say I agree with people to say that I think the time is running short on Barry, and I think he could get fired after this year. And I think Stefanski maybe lasts one more year, but I think there's a chance Barry gets fired because he's trading Flacco was a very done move. Even though you wanted to start Gabriel,
Especially when he
especially to the
just went over
Bengals. Yeah.
300 yards and they beat the Steelers
Maybe
with
it
him. It's
wasn't.
like, oh
Maybe it
my
wasn't a player
gosh.
problem. Maybe it was a coach problem.
That's what it
Thought about
makes it
that?
look like. It's like it's our freaking system over here is
Why are we
holding
throwing
everybody back.
passes like Gabriel's throwing 6 yard passes because that's all he can do. That's all that the offense does for him. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But look, I'm happy they won. They're going to lose this week. They're going to lose like every week now, except like small games that they're going to win. I just
Well, hang on. We got the Jets in a couple games.
okay. Sorry, they're going to have 3 wins on the year. But
Maybe if Lamar Jackson isn't back for the Ravens game, we can win that one
no,
too.
they're going to lose. So just I'm not very going up for that top pick there. Hey, at least the pick from the who they get the pick from in the draft. They
We
got
get the Jags pick, but the Jags keep winning.
I know, which is annoying.
Right now, though, let's just assume that quarterback is who Cleveland's leaning. Which quarterback would you take
Julian
right now?
Sane.
Like,
Oh wait, dang it, we can't take him.
can't do
Fernando
that. Yeah,
Mendoza.
this is the
Mendoza,
discussion I've been
maybe
having with people. Is like
like
it's
Mendoza.
not going to be Drew Aller. It's not going to be Cade Klubnik or Garrett Nussmeier or Lenora Sellers or Arch
Mendoza,
Manning. Like
maybe
it's not going to
Mendoza.
be Carson Beck either. So it's
No,
like, is Dante
Mendoza
Moore going to
probably.
leave early? He
I
doesn't
think
seem like a first overall pick
no.
caliber guy.
I think it's gonna be one of those years that
Mendoza,
I
like
think
that still doesn't
this is the
sound
thing.
right.
Why not you keep Gabriel for one more year and you just take the 2 picks and use it on things you need?
Oh, see this. I hate starting Gabriel again. I never wanted him on this team to begin with, but there's not a fix, I think, in this upcoming
No,
quarterback draft class either.
you wait for Julian Sane to come out in
Like
a
this is
year.
honestly going to be on the level of a few years ago when we had Sam Howell and Kenny Pickett and Malik
Yeah,
Willis as the top three guys. Desmond Ritter was in that discussion too, and it's like, yeah, it's not here.
yeah,
It's not
it's
here, and
true.
we'll see if teams reach or if anybody emerges.
Yeah,
Excuse me, but yeah, as crazy as it sounds, I think Mendoza is your top guy, and that just still doesn't sound right.
I'm saying wait 2 years. You save your picks, get Julian Sane and get Jeremiah Smith. You're set. Get those two guys with the first two picks, just flunk out again, and we're set.
So Carnell Tate this season.
Yes, Carnell Tate this season. You get Jeremiah and Julian Sane next season, and you're set. You got Judkins in the backfield. You
And
got a
we
whole
got the
Buckeye
Ohio State
backfield.
Browns. Okay.
Pretty much, Ohio State might be able to beat the Browns or the Bengals. I'm
Michael
kidding.
Hall,
I'm
Quinshon
kidding.
Judkins, Ronnie Hickman,
I know. I'm telling you,
Julian
Denzel
Saint,
Ward.
Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith.
It's just so fun. Anyways,
We'll find out. Yeah.
yeah, but it's been fun. A good conversation as always. Josh, has been a fun one this week. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you love watching on YouTube, click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you love listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave us a comment below. And
Yes.
this is your question for today. Do you have a comment for them to answer or
Yeah, I was going to
question?
say, go ahead and
Yes.
give us a World Series prediction with
Yes,
games, how many games it is, and
I
then also
agree.
tell us who you think the first quarterback will be taken in the 2026 NFL draft. I'm
Yes.
very curious what the general
And
public thinks about
maybe even
that.
a bonus of do you hate the Blue Jays as much as Josh does? If you do, please put a check mark and an emoji. Anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. And until next time, we'll see ya.